there was this bizarre tweet that came from a state lawmaker. I think it was a state senator. So not a Congress folk for like the federal government, but Nebraska status nonetheless. And there was a ridiculous tweet, but it gives us some opportunities here to really break a lot of this shit down, to break down what is being said, these concepts that are being talked about, and really get to air that out. I love when we get an opportunity to talk about some of this stuff because some people are going to call this stupid for various different reasons. I think my take's going to be a little different on this. This comes from Nebraska State Senator Megan Hunt. She is your typical white leftist. I think she got some pronouns, if I'm not mistaken. When I looked at bio, she's a champion of all of these different kinds of rights and all this bullshit, but not this one, upon which we'll talk about here in a little bit. But of course, she's a Democrat. What else would she be? And a tweet Thursday, this is what she said in the tweet, and we can pull up the tweet right here unless she deleted the bitch. Nope, it's right here. She says, owning a gun isn't a God-given right. It's a slave-owning, misogynistic, founding father-given right. I'm not against the 2A, Second Amendment, which, yeah, you are. But be real. The Constitution was written by people. Today, I'm filibustering a bill that will allow concealed carry without training or permit. Now, there's a couple of different angles to take here that I certainly want to talk about. Let's first talk about this first. Now, don't get me wrong. Top to bottom, this is a retarded tweet. It's stupid. But let's go through it. Why it's stupid. So the first concept of this is owning a gun isn't a God-given right. I think it's worded, let's say, funky. I think more what you're trying to attribute this to is that the right to own it, so as long as you aren't aggressing upon another individual, is a right that is granted by whoever you think that is, be it the creator, God, natural, whatever it is that you consider. It is a right. It is a human actual right. See, this term right and this concepts of rights is interesting because people think that it means that it's granted by way of the government. And the government grants right. Pieces of paper grants right. That's why I've always hated and cringed at the term constitutional right. Like, because it kind of insinuates, though some people that believe that those are a thing don't say it, but it kind of alludes to this idea that the Constitution is the one granting some rights. And it don't grant shit. It's just a piece of fucking paper. But this is the angle that a lot of people have been taking regarding these different concepts. And it was conceptualized long ago. And everybody knows America's dark history and racial relations or in racial relations. And they look at it like because it existed then, it equals bad. And that's such an illogical concept because just because something bad took place during this particular period of time doesn't mean everything that took place during that particular time, or rather that was conceptualized during that period of time, equals bad. But what you're more so referring to, Megan, and which it is, and it's not up for dispute, is that every individual has the right to own a weapon. And that is not given to them by way of a piece of paper. It is granted to them because they are a human being. Now, a lot of people like to use these, it doesn't matter whether you're using a gun for just collecting it and putting it on a wall, whether you're protecting yourself from someone wishing to do bodily harm, invading upon your sort of bodily autonomy. But also, what she's talking about is ahistorical. When you look at the history of a lot of things that the primary left argues for or on behalf of, these are things that, ironically enough, as they play this race card, were used. When you look at like the Fugitive Slave Act and you look at other forms of laws and legislation that were implemented, let's say that, to keep weaponry out of black people's hands, right? That part of history seems to just get fucking skipped over. So when you don't want, let's say, to allow people without training or without a permit, which means asking permission from the government, to be able to have weapons, you are also referring to the black people, Latino people, Asian people, all the Indian people, which are Asian, I guess, but you get what it is that I'm saying, of any racial makeup, Arab, that live in Nebraska. You're also intruding upon their rights. So they're angling at it as if, well, wanting to own or not believing, knowing that you have the right to own weaponry or arms in this case is a right per se, is a white thing. It's funny how they word that, because that's what they're all in on, right? This is what all the politicians have adopted as, they say, I can't prove something is wrong. They say this, I can't prove something is wrong unless I say or claim it's due to my racism. Now, again, it's ahistorical. It's ahistorical. So when you try to play the race card and you look at, or in this case, it's a, misogynistic card as well, slave owning misogynistic card. You're trying to position yourself as if you have this sort of moral high ground to be in opposition of something. Not understanding how that impacts people. The ridiculous amount of people that are in that are not white. Now, it's wrong either way, but so many people that are in jail, and some of you probably know them, prison, hell for that matter, breaking some sort of federal law maybe. But, in jail because, the state says they can't have this sort of magazine capacity. Or the state said you can't own a gun or be in possession of one. I mean, people, like illegal possession is one of the most bullshit laws because there's no such fucking thing. It's arbitrary. It's the state saying, well, you didn't go through us to get it, therefore you're not supposed to have it. Even though you like to think that, people talk about, well, this next president is going to end the 2A. I'm like, bro, they already shat on that, bro. You look at the National Firearms Act and they've long shat on your beloved 2A. Long done that. And a lot of y'all too chicken shit to do what needs to be done to, get on the attack maybe once in your life and start to talk about getting rid of these laws that make it either impossible or very hard for just anybody to own weapons and protect themselves. I will say this, if you are trying to disarm people, and I don't give a fuck what color they are, if you're trying to disarm any person for any given reason, or make it difficult, more difficult for them to be able to own, let's say, arms, be able to be in possession of arms, you are a piece of shit. You just listened to a clip from my podcast, For Canon's Sake, which is live throughout the week at 12 p.m. Central on youtube.com/YoungRipper59 and odyssey.com/@YoungRipper59. Be sure to check out my website, ericdjuly.com, so you can stay up to date with everything it is that I'm doing. You can also become a member and get access to a bunch of cool perks and exclusive content, which includes a social media hub where you can interact with myself and other members. It even has an app that you can get, which is now live in the Google and Apple stores.